Well, you mentioned Alabama there. I wanted to ask you about them, Dan. Both coordinator spots currently unfilled, and this has been for a little while now. We knew both coordinators were going to change in Tuscaloosa. Could you make the argument that these are the biggest hires Nick Saban's ever had to make? Because obviously Georgia is now the king of college football. LSU has emerged. A&M kind of has not really emerged, but they're a threat. I mean, there's Tennessee is an emerging threat. Nick Saban cannot afford to screw these up, can he?
No, he absolutely cannot. And, I said this last week on the show is I said, just as good as Nick Saban is at evaluating player talent, he might be even better at evaluating coaching talent. And, you just look at the, coaches that he has brought in the past. And, I know Steve Sarkisian was already there as an analyst. Lane Kiffin was already there as an analyst, but then he felt confident enough to put them in charge of running the offense. And the offense was able to have just amazing amounts of success. Same deal with Mike Loxley, too, as well, who was part of the rehabilitation program there in Tuscaloosa and then able to get on the field and now is doing a great job at Maryland after, getting people to see, okay, pretty good offensive mind. That's somebody that we can trust as a coach. So I think that's going to be the key because here's the other thing is as well. Great coaches aren't just out there. There's a lot of really good coaches. And there's also some very mediocre coaches who have been able to at least, show people or at least lead people to believe that they're in that other group of coaches, the good coaches that I just talked about. So I think that that's going to be the biggest challenge that he has. And the funny thing is, I think, Mike, is the best hires he's made really have been ones that did get a little bit of criticism. I mean, remember going into the 2017 season, I brought this up last week as well, that Brian Daboll, when he was brought on, because it was everything that people believed that Nick Saban wanted offensively. Here is kind of a husky looking guy that was with Bill Belichick. Oh, he's going to run that boring pro style offense. Just when we're starting to let the kids have some fun on offense, Nick, then you decide to bring in a guy. And I remember somebody even kind of bringing it up in that way during spring practice. And Nick Saban says, who says we're going to slow things down? Who says we're going to do all these things? And then, oh, by the way, they end up going on and winning a national title that season. And Brian Daboll probably gets catapulted into the NFL with the Bills and then now with the New York Giants because of that season, what he was able to do. So I think that's the other part of it as well. And I think that the other thing that kind of leads into all of this with Alabama right now is what identity do you want offensively and defensively? I think is going to be the question that needs to be answered. I talked with Clint Lamb of the Bama Insider last week, and he brought up the point that, he wouldn't be surprised if Nick Saban wants to see this get to a little bit more of a run-based attack. And that's not to say that they're not going to put up huge passing numbers. That's not to say, hey, top-tier quarterbacks and wide receivers don't come here because it's going to be early 2010s Alabama offense with a guy like A.J. McCarron under center, and we're running that type of attack. I don't think we're going to see that. I think you're still going to see very much the RPO attack still attached to this offense. I just think that Nick Saban realizes we've gotten away from what our calling card was, and our calling card was physicality. I think he's got to try to find a way with both these hires to be able to get back to what made Alabama football.
How about Tennessee?